Hi everybody, my name's Bob Saunders, and I recently found out what the alien agenda is actually all about, and I'd like to tell you about it, okay? Now, it involves mostly, but not exclusively, the Greys. Oh, by the way, as usual, notes, so excuse me. It involves mostly, but not exclusively, the Greys. Now, the Greys, in case you don't know, are the little fellas that basically look like little children, but with great big bulbous heads and the big wraparound eyes. And you've got two types. You've got the little fellas that are actually little robots, and you've got the bigger ones, which are the true living entities that control the little robots. Okay? Now, I should perhaps just mention that there's actually many different races of all shapes and sizes, and they've all been visiting planet Earth for their diverse reasons for many thousands of years. And I will also just mention that they all claim to have genetically modified us and are really our creators. And when you think about it, if they all say that, surely it can't all be true. They can all be wrong. And my guides have told me a totally different story, that they're not actually telling the truth, any of them. They didn't create any of us. Anyway, don't let's worry about that just now. Now, well, I also will say that there's a technical difference between two terms, if you like. There's supposed to be aliens and extraterrestrials, but I just jumble them all up. If they're not from around here, I'll mention one word or the other, but it means the same group of people, okay? Now, the Greys came here, I think back in the early 40s, and met with American presidents and things, and said that they had a problem, that they came from some planet and where they were quite advanced and had evolved down a road that took them into test tube reproduction, and it had been the wrong road, and would we kindly let them take DNA samples from humans to take back to their planet to reconstitute their race, and in exchange they would give us highly advanced technology. Now, as we were just coming out of the Cold War then, and America thought that they needed all the help they could get, they naturally said yes, and I don't blame them for that. I quite understand, even though it was clearly a wrong decision. Anyway, so let me quick look at it there. Now, so now we've got these grey people, these grey aliens, that are abducting people, humans, and they always do the same sort of things. They take sperm samples from men, they take eggs from women, they take DNA, blood samples for DNA, they scan brains of people, and so on and so on. And at the same time, they're doing horrific animal, what do they call them? Animal mutilations. They're doing horrific animal mutilations on not only animals but also humans, and so I understand that this is done while the people or the animals are still alive, and they cut lumps off their cheeks, they cut ears off, they dig eyes out and do all sorts of dreadful things, all in the name of trying to find trying to get DNA samples to reconstitute their race. Well, one would have thought that by now, because this has been going on, I believe actually started a long time ago, but it's officially been going on with the help of the American armed forces since at least the 1940s. So I think by now they would have got enough DNA to get started solving their own problem, had that been the problem. Okay, and I've recently found out what the truth of the matter is. Now, this is where we're going to go a bit down the rabbit hole, because I was told that there are indeed many alien races, and they do indeed have home planets, but they're not any of them on the surface of those planets. They are all in the astral or etheric realms that go round various planets. Okay? So, for example, if we take Mars, the god of war, if we take Mars as an example, I know the Americans and Russians have now got bases on Mars, but if before they managed to get up there, apparently, had somebody been able to get there with a spaceship, they would not have seen any activity on the surface because it was all in the etheric and astral realms, and according to my guides, much of it very unpleasant. Now, before anybody says to me that can't be true because there's pyramids and stuff on Mars, you're quite right, there is. But the way that was done, you have to understand that everything is a question of vibration, frequency. So if you get a being that knows what he's doing and he's in the astral realm, he can form in his mind the shape of a pyramid, for instance, or a group of them collectively could do that, and then they just lower, and that shape that they've got in their minds is actually a frequency, it's a vibration. Then they just lower that in frequency and it forms a solid rock. I know it sounds a bit like science fiction, but that's how it works. I'll give you, and that's how the pyramids and stuff got on Mars. I'll very quickly sort of speak about me for a moment. When I go off to the astral realms to visit my friends up there, I effectively create another body of a higher vibration. This body still sits on a chair and doesn't move, but with my mind I create another kind of version of me. Now, aliens can do that in reverse. They're already in a slightly higher vibration than us, even the baddies, that it's still higher than us. So with their minds, they just create, they reduce the vibrational rate, and that creates a body that you see here. It creates the little greys, or these mantis or mantids, depending on what country you live in, and so on. Okay. Now, that they can hold on to that body for quite a long time, but it's still not a permanent thing, not like with us, because we're actually born here. Okay. So now, what I want to say is that all over the galaxy, there's planets that have got life associated with them, but none of it is actually on the surface. It's all in the etheric or astral realms round those planets. The only unique planet in the whole of our galaxy where there's sentient life on the surface is planet Earth. Okay, now, once again, you believe this or you don't. It's up to you. Now, the reason that we've got sentient life here is because the archangelic beings that actually control life decided millions of years ago on a great experiment. They had no life actually on any planet anywhere, so they decided to create a planet somewhere where they would put animals and plants and things in a physical form here. Right? And out of the blue they chose, or maybe not out of the blue, but they certainly chose planet Earth for this experiment. And so, no doubt they put plants and stuff first, but then they put animals here. Because I presume, well, I've actually seen animals in the etheric and astral, not so much the etheric, but the astral realms. I've seen animals, so I know they exist there. And they decided to put them down here, once again, with this reduction of frequencies that we were talking about. And they endowed them with this ability to produce a physical offspring by the process of mating, which would allow other animals that were waiting their turn, so to speak, in the heavenly spheres, to come down and inhabit the body of that animal, just as human beings do. Okay, now this was a unique experiment, and I've no doubt they had a lot of fun and games getting it all going in the first place, but they managed to do it with animals, and they had hoped, as I've mentioned in other videos, they had hoped that the animals would evolve to the point where they would raise their consciousness back up to replace the energy that was used to create it all in the first place. Well, now, excuse me, now that didn't happen, so volunteers were called for from amongst the human population in heaven. Would some of us come down here with a view to evolving to replace the energy that, and so we're here, and we also have this ability of a man and a woman to mate, and that produces a body which is not actually alive until a spirit comes down from heaven and associates itself with that body. Then the whole thing springs to life. In fact, this body is never actually alive. It's the spirit that's animating it that gives it the appearance of life. But it's a pretty neat trick, don't you think? In all the galaxy, this is the only place where this is happening, that two creatures can create a baby third creature, and that can be animated by a spiritual force coming down from heaven. Right? Now, the Greys heard about this, and they thought, oh, this sounds interesting. Let's go and investigate this. And because the Greys are in the lower fourth dimension, and they thought, wow, if we can master this trick, we can use human bodies, for instance, and put our minds in them, and we can create this. We can have this ability not just to be stuck in the lower fourth dimension, but we can actually swan about here and put our agenda into plan down here. So they arrived on our planet quite a long time ago, and they started to abduct people with or without permission. They started to abduct people in order to try and find out how we managed to do this trick of a man and a woman creating a little third creature, which we call a baby, and a spirit coming down and animating that baby. So that's why when people are abducted, the men get sperm taken, the women get eggs taken, everybody gets DNA taken, everybody gets a brain scan, and they're ripping cows and things to bits in order to study the DNA once again and the blood, and they're frantically looking for how we perform this trick of getting a spirit to come from another dimension into a baby and having a total incarnation here. And so far they haven't done it, and I understand they will never do it, but they're trying. Unfortunately nobody's told the Greys that they're going to fail, so they're still soldiering on as best they can to try and solve the problem. In the meantime, they're making hybrids which are the physical bodies that they make in test tubes from men and women sperm, and they stick some sort of intelligence in it and hope it's going to work, but apparently that doesn't work very well. After a few years or months even, something goes wrong and these poor hybrids go gaga and they have to eliminate them. It doesn't work very well at all. It's because they've got no spirit of God in them. The whole thing's artificial, sort of Frankenstein idea. It just doesn't work at all. But this is what I wanted to say to you. What the alien agenda is they're trying to find out how we managed to get our spirit of God to come down from heaven into the body of a baby, whether it be a human or a cat or a dog or a horse or a cow or whatever. It's much the same process, Okay, and now anything that's mammalian like that has this means of a male and a female coupling, and a youngster appearing, the spirit of a youngster appearing and animating that object, that little baby. And they find it fascinating because they want to copy it, but they can't at the moment. Okay, so that apparently is the alien agenda. Now, I've told you it. I don't expect you, or some of you, to believe it. Always remember what I said at the beginning, if you will please, that in the whole of the galaxy, this is the only planet, apparently, with life on the surface. There's plenty of life in the etheric and astral realms of other planets, but this one is the only one with life on the surface. Okay, I've explained it, I hope, to the best of my ability. Please tell me what you think, and I'll speak to you again another day. Okay, bye.